I have been with my fiance for 3 years. We met whilst I was on holiday, and a few weeks after, he followed me on Instagram, and the rest is history. We got engaged last year, and a month later found out I was pregnant. We have a beautiful 6-month-old. We hosted Thanksgiving this year, and my fiance was drinking quite heavily. And after dinner, me and my mom were talking about the wedding, which my parents are paying for. I overheard my fiance tell my brother, who was just as drunk as him, that he needed to tie me down and get me pregnant before I realized what a dickhead he was. They laughed it off, but it rubbed me the wrong way because our baby was not planned. I wasn't ready for a child, and we were using condoms. But after a few instances where the condom broke, I decided it would be safer if I got on birth control. The first month on, because I got pregnant, we were told that could happen, and he said he would pull out to be safe, but I still got pregnant. I was scared, but I personally didn't want to get an abortion. I 100% believe in the right to get an abortion, I just didn't want one, and so decided to keep the baby. I work for my dad's company, and my fiance works at a country club. Money wasn't necessarily why I didn't want a baby. I just wanted to do more before I started a family. I spoke to my fiance about what he said, and at first he said he didn't remember saying it, which was believable because of how drunk he was, but then he said it was just a joke, and it was meant as a compliment because I'm so amazing. So I said, okay, good, because we're getting a prenup. I was just joking, but I also wanted to see how he reacted, and he was pissed. He said why the hell would he sign a prenup that we have a baby together, a house together, and that he would not sign one, how we wouldn't need one because we're never separating, and that me mentioning a prenup is insulting and emasculating. I never felt threatened or anything like that, but he did make me uncomfortable and he woke our baby up, so I told him to leave, which he did. The day after I kicked him out, he sent me a long apologetic message about how it was out of character for him to get loud, which it was. He's never acted like that before. And I replied saying I appreciate the apology, but I still just need a day or two to think everything through. The next day, he sent a bouquet to the apartment. On Sunday, he sent me a booking confirmation of a massage he booked for me at the club and offered to come over to watch our son and cook dinner. Tonight, he sent me a message saying that I'm being an a-hole and that I'm taking a meaningless joke to heart and that he's wasting money he could be saving for the wedding on the hotel. But now, things that went over my head before, I'm starting to think is sus, but breaking up my family over this doesn't seem right. Am I overthinking this? Being an a-hole? Some comments. Commenter, if you have a house together, why is he sending flowers to the apartment? Original poster replied, we closed on a house, but we're staying at my apartment until the lease is up. Commenter, please, please, please do not marry him. Call off this relationship. He wants you barefoot and pregnant. Run! The pill is super easy to tamper with. All your ex needs to do is microwave your birth control pills for a short time, and your birth control pills are completely useless. Original poster responded, I didn't know this. Wow, I never even considered him doing anything like that. I take them like clockwork. So it definitely wasn't that I missed a day or anything like that. Commenter, I haven't seen it said yet, but you mentioned having 2 trust funds, one that you got when you were 18. Does he know this? Think about it. If you don't have a prenup, he'll have access to that trust fund. Don't be naive. And the condom? Come on. He totally baby-trapped you. Wake up. Original poster responded, yeah, he knows about the trust fund. He was at my brother's 18th, where my dad said to him not to spend all his money at once, and he asked if all the siblings got one, which we did. Update. A lot of people were asking for context. When I said I wanted a prenup at the time, I wasn't being serious. Maybe I was being trying to get a reaction. But based on the 3YRs we've been together, I would have never imagined he'd react the way he did. Why did the joke bother me so much? About a year ago, he lost his job. He was never really clear why. For the next 3 to 4 months, he didn't really do much. He said he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do next, and that was the first time he brought up having kids. Indicating that he was ready, we had a candid conversation on my part about how I want kids, just not anytime soon. I enjoy my job. I had trips planned and I wanted to be married first. He agreed with me that we should wait 3-4 years. My dad's company got a contract at the club, which is how he got his job there. But during the time he was out of work, my girls would joke that he's a stay-at-home boyfriend and that I'm the provider. and he'd be a stay-at-home dad because I was paying the bills, rent by myself, which at the time didn't bother me. I used to live there by myself before we got together. So it wasn't a big deal, but I guess it was them that first made me question. To be honest, I don't know how long the condoms were breaking. A lot of people are saying they've never had them break, and I can't say I remember it ever happening before. I noticed the first time that it looked like it had split, and then I checked it the next time that was also broken, which is when I decided to get an IUD, which he didn't want me to, but I stood my ground and we compromised and I got on the pill. I know we should have continued using condoms, but he said he'd ran out and that I'm on the pill and don't need them. In hindsight, yes, I should have insisted we still use them. But I choose not to have that battle. I thought we'd be okay. He knew my opinion on abortion and that I wouldn't get one. If I got pregnant, I would raise the baby unless it was for a medical reason. Money-wise, my family's successful. I work for my dad's company. I have 2 trust funds, one of which I got at 18. Before I fell pregnant, I was making plans to start my own house flipping business, but I decided to put that on hold. I still work from home on flexible hours, but he said once we're married, he wants me to stop working so I can focus on our kids and that he'll support us. But I've never really liked that idea, mainly because although I've never had to worry about money, my parents always taught us the importance of financial stability. And my mom's always said to never be financially dependent on anyone. Plus, my fiance's current salary I'm not sure would cover all of our expenses. The only reason why I haven't told my dad is because they have a good relationship, and I don't want to blow everything up over an overreaction on my part. Some comments. Commenter. Don't you think there was a reason he didn't want you to get an IUD? He can't tamper with that, but he did with the latex. Original poster responded, he sent me a few things where people IUDs went wrong, and yeah, I probably should have gone with my gut, but he convinced me the pill would be the best option. But I did speak to my mom because he's come back home. Commenter, the real problem is him not supporting your career. He should be supporting your business and your job, not making you be a stay-at-home housewife. That's ridiculous. Yes, mothers with young children can still start businesses, but they have to be appropriately supported. Someone asked, can you say he can give you that support? Original poster responded, probably not. He's been quite blunt in that he doesn't think I could do both effectively, and after our son was born, he said he didn't want a large age gap between kids. Update yesterday, we had a conversation about where I was at, but he said he couldn't go back to the hotel because they kicked him out for smoking in the room. He stopped smoking while I was pregnant, but he said I was stressing him out. So he had to stay at the apartment. While I was OTP to one of my girls in the bedroom, he came in and took the phone off me and told me to come and eat. While we was eating, he said that he understood what I said and that things need to change for us to move forward. He then proceeded to list all the things I needed to do to make things better. His tone the whole conversation was just making me uneasy. I texted my dad saying that he was making me uncomfortable when he wasn't looking. I went to check on the baby, and when I came back, I saw him take my keys out of my purse but didn't say anything. He took my silence as agreement to everything he said and went to bed, instead of the couch like we had agreed, like everything was normal. I stayed in the living room, and my dad, bless him, drove 6 hours to come and get us. My dad got to the apartment around 5 this morning while my fiancé was still sleeping, and we left. Me and my son are at my parents' house now. My fiancé's been blowing up my phone since this morning. I sent a text to him as we were driving off, saying he wasn't respecting the fact that I needed space and time to just figure everything out. So he could stay in the apartment, and I'll stay at my parents'. We haven't officially broken up or called the wedding off. My parents, who've paid for it, have said that they don't care if I want to call it off, but I feel bad. But I just want to say thank you to everyone who replied to my original post and private messaged me. I didn't think people would care about me. I feel like every option I have is bad. The thought of being a single mom is scary. If my fiance's behavior gets worse, that would be crap. If we cancel the wedding and cost my parents thousands of dollars, I'll feel guilty. And if we break up altogether, we just got a house together. We're both on the mortgage. Our joint accounts, and I've been with him since I was 19, being without him for good is also scary. Some comments. Commenter. This guy is bad news. Got you pregnant, laid down the law, and hid your car keys. Don't feel bad about your parents being out of money for what they have spent. From what you told us about his latest stunt and your friend's commentary about him, trust us, they are pleased as punch that he finally revealed himself to you in terms that you can't ignore. I'm guessing they have been biting their tongues, but despite their angst at your choice, chose to respect it and support it. Original poster responded, they said that they didn't like how we was getting so serious too fast or how he moved into my apartment. But then I got pregnant, so they didn't want to seem unsupportive. Commenter, hey, if you feel guilty about your parents having paid for stuff, cancel what you can and have a good riddance party with your friends and family with what you can't cancel. Original poster responded, my mom's been canceling things since this morning. The wedding's off. Commenter, your head is probably spinning from everything, so sorry you're going through this. What's happening to you is called betrayal trauma. It's easy for women to start to tune out our instincts, but this is a lesson on how real your instincts are. Thank God you realized before you married him. He let the mask slip off too much, but from an outsider's perspective, it's clear this was just the start. It takes the AVG women's oftentimes to leave an abusive relationship because we get sucked back in by promises and small sample data of changes. Be strong, get a therapist, lean on your community, and heal. If you go back, he can start displaying more desperate behavior like what you saw with the keys, and it can get dangerous very fast. He saw you as his life raft, and now his life has capsized. Original poster responded, heavy on the lean on my community. I had the first honest and open conversation with my mom for the first time in a long time, and I feel so different and so much better. My head was a mess, and Reddit probably wasn't the best place to talk about it, but it's anonymous, and it felt good to get it out.
So I am getting married in a few weeks. About a month ago, one of my best friends, who I've known since college and have kept in regular contact with, dropped the bomb that she was getting married. I didn't even know she was seeing anyone. She then drops the bomb that she's marrying a guy in our friend group and that her wedding is going to have to be the day before mine because her father-in-law can't get time off work at any other time that month, and essentially gave a few other half-assed reasons about why other weekends weren't possible. One weekend will be a few days before her period starts, so she'll be bloated. The other, she's on her period. The other is Valentine's weekend, and that's cringy. The other is too close to Ramadan, so she can't go on her honeymoon straight away. Some backstory about the person she is marrying. She is someone that we always thought she had a thing for, but she'd always deny it and say she saw him like a brother. We used to argue a bit over her prioritizing him over me back in college, especially because this guy and I didn't really get on much, and her and I were so close. For example, me and her had brunch plans once, and she spent the whole time texting him. After graduating, though, I feel like we all matured and put differences behind us, to the point where her husband was actually invited to my wedding as my friend. My knee-jerk reaction to her telling me she was engaged was crying tears of joy for her. I truly was happy for her. But when I went home to think about it, I felt really icky. All year since I've been wedding planning, she's been asking me really specific questions about my planning process. She complained to me that as my best friend, she didn't feel involved enough in my planning process and said she wanted to come dress shopping with me, which I invited her to because of her expressing this. But then, for her to turn around and tell me that she's been dating this guy on and off for a year, whilst also keeping it secret, makes her feeling left out of my stuff come across as so hypocritical. And then there's the question of why the rush since she's known him a decade, and why specifically my wedding weekend when I sent out my save the dates back in March. So she's had so much time to plan and leave some time in between. It's not about me not having all the attention on me. It's just how she can expect me to be fully present at her wedding, and how selfish she must be to expect me to have to fit her into an already stressful weekend for me. When I told her this, she doubled down on that weekend being the only one available, and that she specifically chose that one because she knew I'd be available since I'd booked a few days off from work before the wedding, and that she needed me at her wedding. She said I would embarrass her around her future in-laws since she made such a point of needing to pick a date that I could attend, even though I had no clue she was seeing him, nor did she check if the day was a good fit for me. I then also expressed how upset I was that she kept the relationship hidden from me, to which she said she thought I'd cut her off because of my history of not getting on with this guy. Again, we all moved past that stuff years ago, and are a far cry from the kids we were when we all met back in freshman year. When I told her I didn't think I could make her wedding, she was so upset she cried and said she never thought I'd do that to her and skip her wedding. She's been telling other friends in the friend group that I'm coming to the wedding when they've asked if that date is doable for me. We haven't spoken since my conversation about how upset with her I was a month ago. I'm not trying to be a bridezilla, and I know people are entitled to be private. My issue is that she should have extended that privacy with me and not asked so many questions about my life, knowing she was being so tight-lipped with hers. This is where I now need advice. I feel so bitter and like the whole friendship was a lie. I can't make it to her wedding. And honestly, having her at mine feels disingenuous. She has been telling friends she is still coming to mine. Is it rude for me to not go to her wedding? Should I go to her wedding since this is a decade-long friendship? Part of me wants to disinvite her and her husband to be from my wedding because of the lies. Is that rude? Is there a polite way to disinvite someone from your wedding without coming across like an absolute villain? Thank you for reading up to here, if you have. Edit. I'm Middle Eastern, so traditionally we don't have bridesmaids or a rehearsal dinner. Also fixed some wording and added some more detail. Some comments. Commenter. When did this friend send out wedding invitations that you just found out and she's expecting you to attend? Sounds very last minute on her part. Original poster responded. So from what I've heard from the grapevine, she's only just found a venue and no invitations have gone out yet. She's been insisting that officially the engagement and knowing they were getting married in November, which is why nothing had been booked. It all just seems so wishy-washy to me. Commenter. I just have to add a totally instant gut reaction to this situation. Your friend was siphoning off all of your wedding planning to make hers easier. She deliberately planned the day before yours to cover that fact up. Hers is the earlier wedding, therefore you copied her, in her mind anyway. I am very sorry you are going through this, but this is not a friend. Grieve the loss of what you thought you had and move on with your life. No way should you bother to attend her wedding. She knows it isn't possible for you to go the day before your own wedding. She planned that, but I would formally revoke her invitation to your wedding. Best of luck to you. Hugs from an internet nana, original poster responded. That's what I'm thinking too. Before all of this, she kept on saying how easy wedding planning seemed to be going for me. It's not been easy at all. I'm just good at hiding it and am very organized, and how I'd thought of things she would have never even known was a thing. In terms of disinviting and the cultural impact, it's very split down the middle with opinions. So, I'm really torn. Thank you for the hugs. I really appreciate it. This has really helped me feel like I'm not being unreasonable or a bridezilla. Commenter. Quite simply, she is a terrible friend. Here's the gist of what you wrote. You guys are allegedly close, yet she didn't tell you about her year-long relationship. She's chosen to inconvenience you in your own wedding weekend, assumed you'd be available the day before your own wedding, after she hid her relationship from you. She's lying to everyone about you attending her wedding. She hasn't shared any details about her own wedding, despite making you feel guilty about not including her in your own wedding planning. You never even really liked her husband. If she thought you'd cut her off for dating this man, why would she think you'd be okay, not cutting her off for marrying him? She seems the kind of friend who wants to know all of your business without sharing anything from her own life. Honestly, not the kind of company you'd want to keep. Original poster responded. Heavy on the last point. I have so many friends who are private people and don't speak on many things until they're set in stone. But at the same time, they follow a don't ask, don't tell policy, so it doesn't bother me at all. And I completely agree about the worry of me cutting her off. I said this to her, and she really didn't have anything to say in response. I was over all of that stuff anyway. I invited him to the wedding because I'd gotten over my dislike of him these last few years, but apparently she has selective memory and only wants to believe the things that suit her narrative. How would she know you got over your dislike of her fiancé? Original poster responded, she should have known I moved past it because we all hang out as a group a few times a year, and her husband received an invite to my wedding. My issue is her getting upset with me for not being involved in my wedding planning, which comes across as hypocritical. But you're right. I've learned I should be more tight-lipped about certain things, now I guess. Commenter? So she told your friends about the wedding weeks ago? She's been telling other friends in the friend group that I'm coming to the wedding when they've asked if that date is doable for me. How long did she invite them? No one mentioned it to you? It is unreasonable for anyone to expect you to attend a wedding the day before yours, especially with only a few weeks' notice. Original poster responded, "She told me first, and then the rest of the friends in the days after. And so far, everyone has only received verbal invitations." Comment: what kind of wedding is she planning? Is this like a courthouse wedding in the late morning, followed by a nice lunch, or a full-on catered event? The request is certainly presumptuous of her, so I'm just trying to understand all the details. Original poster responded, "She's planning on having her religious ceremony and reception on the same day so it will have the same time frame as a Western and be typically an all-day thing. Especially if you consider pictures between the ceremony and the reception. Is this really happening? Did anyone confirm?" Friends have confirmed with the groom. The wedding is definitely happening. Is she pregnant? Definitely don't think she's pregnant. I know she's quite religious, but of course, that doesn't really mean it's not a possibility. One last thought from original poster responded, "Trust me, there are so many holes that I'm curious about too, in her story, and a lot else that I didn't put in myself. In terms of how busy I'll be putting together my wedding favors with the girls in the family in the days leading up to the wedding. We'll be doing airport runs up to the day before, as a lot family will be traveling in, some from more than 20 hours away. And we live close to 3 major airports, so it's all hands on deck. And then honestly, I was hoping I'd get a nice early night in to relax for once, because I've had such a busy year. I'll be combining my henna event with the reception on the day of the wedding, because I've already had 2 events and have a Western-style bridal shower the weekend before, so wanted to cut down on events." Update: a few people in the original post were asking about rehearsal dinners and all of that stuff. I'm Middle Eastern, and we don't really do that in our culture. Some people also said I needed to get over myself and that I don't own the whole weekend, which is true. I don't. My issue was the lying, and also the expectation of me to drive a total of 5 hours, 2.5 hours there and back the day before my wedding, and to attend another when I had so many things to finalize. I also just needed to vent. Being lied to and having something that felt so calculated happened in what I thought was one of my closest friendships is strange. Oh, and I don't think it was a shotgun wedding, which a lot of people were suggesting. Anyway, I had my wedding, it was perfect, and I wouldn't change a thing. I didn't go to her wedding, I genuinely didn't have the time. I did see some posted videos of her wedding, but she didn't copy mine, which a lot of people were worried about, considering she had been asking me about all of my prep. I'll give her her flowers though. Her wedding was gorgeous, but definitely not a 2-month planned wedding like she was making out it was to me. In the end, she ended up coming to my wedding about 3 hours late. I was too busy being in my own newly married bubble to notice her or anything, but I did get feedback from people who were sat at her table. Like people said she would in my original post, she spent the whole time talking about her wedding. In our culture, the bride receives a heavy piece of gold jewelry at her wedding. She made a show of having her new husband take her piece of jewelry out of her bag and putting it on her at the table just after my husband and I feels so nice saying that. Did our outfit change? She was also showing off other pieces of jewelry she received, making a point to emphasize that she received real sapphires and real diamonds. Her and her husband also spent the whole time texting each other, which means they were probably saying not very nice things that they didn't want our mutual friends overhearing. And she frequently would turn to him and say, "Don't worry, we're leaving soon." They were also packing on the PDA with neck kisses. She also then cried to my mom and brother about how she doesn't understand why I've not been talking to her and how I've been so cold to her. This wasn't true. I'd only told her how much her actions and lies had hurt me, and to be honest, she was the one who didn't respond to my last message. My mum being the classic mum, she brought her to me and tried to make us hug it out. We have this very awkward exchange caught on camera. My mum did tell my friend that she shouldn't have lied to me for a whole year though, so it's nice to know she had my back, even if she pulled a typical mum move, trying to make everyone happy. Our mutual friends are all on my side. No one really thinks she's in the right. Most of them didn't go to her wedding. With the invites being so last minute and her wedding being on a weekday, a lot of people couldn't get the time off or childcare. No one else knew about the wedding, which is crazy. I do believe that her truth is that she doesn't think she's done anything wrong, and she really does think that she considered me and my situation in her wedding planning. Unfortunately, I think it's one of those friendships where we no longer really align, and I have taken a step back and distanced myself from her. I do appreciate that she came to my wedding. However, I think she did it to make a point more than out of the goodness of her heart and respect for our friendship, considering what she pulled. Edited to add more information that some people were asking.